Greetings and salutations and welcome to it's number 48 of Waved Yellow. Gary, how's it?
Hola!
And
to everybody out there, hi guys. I hope you're all well. I hope you've all had a good start to the new year. We're about to start in the new year with a bit of wheel alignment.
Second show this year. We had to sort out some wheel alignment. Gary's rev limiter on his pacemaker needed some adjusting because at the moment he's like a duck. Calm and serene on the top, but the stuff that's going on underneath, I'll tell you what, it is absolutely special. So it's episode 48,
correct,
and I've called it 7 time. So for those of you who know what 7 time is all about, write it in the comments and questions and queries and all the rest of it, and then we can, Gary, the buttons on the left hand side do the technical issues are amazing. So we had to download a new map for the software because we've got active ride height.
and a couple of other things.
Lots of other things. Anyway, all good. It's Dakar.
That's right.
It's Dakar weekend. And so tomorrow is the prologue. It's going to be super exciting. It's an iconic race, probably right up there with Le Mans as individual races to win. Le Mans, Daytona 24 and Dakar are probably the 3 most difficult races to win. Many of you will think that it might be the Nürburgring 24, but excuse me, you know they're running GT3 cars now, they're reliable as hell, so back in the day it might have been. This is an iconic race. It's absolutely, I'm excited about this.
Well, so am I, because we've got a South African in it.
A couple of them?
Yeah, a couple of them, but the main South African is young Calvin van der Linde.
In the Dakar, Gary?
Oh, gosh.
Gary, I want you to just look at me.
Yeah, there's 6.
Just look at me. Gary, focus. So tell us about, first of all,
you see, guys, he caught me, I get busted.
It's the Raw before the 24 at Daytona. Gary, you've been following that really closely, so tell us what is what.
Well, yesterday was free practice 1 for the GTD class, which Calvin van der Linde is racing in car number 88.
That's effectively the GT3 cars?
Yeah, all the GT3 cars. Free practice 1, they went out not too good. They came in P13. In free practice. Driver went out in first one, left the pit lane and arrived on the track without a left-hand rear wheel.
And that was that Chris Christopherson song. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel.
And it was parked for the rest of free practice, so there was no time for them in free practice 2. But later on today they got a free practice 3 and free practice 4, so let's see what the guys can do. But if they keep the car together, it should be a winner.
Iconic race, and for this year, that particular car, last year it was sponsored by Motorsport, and this year it's Audi Canada.
Correct. It's actually
blame it on the Canadians.
Yeah, it's white with a Canadian flag on it. So well, the guys are out there.
So Gary, you got us back at Mug and Bean in Broadacres.
Yeah,
with the chickens and
outdoor studio. Just a quick one. Just hi to everybody. Greg Chalmers online. Mark Friedman. Hi guys, happy New Year. Thank you to you. Lee Phillips is online all the way from Il Maurice.
Yeah.
Menno.
We're busy reading the same book, but I'll tell you about that later.
Okay, all right. What, you and Lee are reading the same book? Or?
Well, not technically. It's the same title by the same author, but it's not the same book. He's got his copy and I've got my copy. But yeah, mine's a virtual copy. So then we get into that philosophical discussion. Is it the same if it lives electronically?
All right. Well, guys, that's it about what's happening over there. But I think the more exciting thing is actually what's going to happen from tomorrow. Okay, and a bit later on in our show. Don't go away.
Yeah, and don't, this is not the cue for other, there are many we have a crew. The crew of up to about, I think the crew list at the moment is 84 now, Gary.
Where are we making all this money to pay these oaks, dude?
They don't get paid. They just love it.
They don't get
It's
paid.
the passion of the sport
Okay.
that makes it. And thank you again for Autobahn for helping us. If you need spares and stuff for your car, go to Autobahn. They are they're cool guys. They treat us good. We like them.
Mark Friedman chirps, she says the book is called Races and Macy's. No,
I
Mark,
wish, yeah.
if he read that, he wouldn't be sitting here, trust me.
No, it's such a simple title.
Yeah.
How to Build a Car by one of the greatest designers in the world. Right, so Gary,
Yes.
Dakar. We were quite in our pre-production with our large staff complement. We were quite lucky we've chatted to a couple of people. We've had some really in-depth discussions, and probably in terms of the build-up, we had a long chat with Glenn.
Yes.
Glenn Hall, who is team principal of Toyota Gazoo Racing South Africa, and the head honcho main man at Hall Speed. He's not the boss because he's married to the boss of Hall Speed. She's the boss. I mean, okay.
Whatever. I didn't go there, you did.
I did. You know,
No.
I'm quite happy.
I will let
she's
the-
the one.
I will
she
let the-
shall not be disobeyed.
I will let the boss deal with you later.
No, that's so. And it was a very interesting discussion, but it's quite long. So it's about 45 odd minutes long. So what we've done is we split it into two parts. So part one will be today, and part two will be tomorrow. And then we also had a super interesting discussion with Rob Howie, who is to our little baby Glenn,
Yes.
effectively. And we'll bring that to you later as we go. And I've got to be very careful of this button. It needs
Yeah.
a redesign, Gary.
I know.
So that we need a hand guard in it, so that the DOF people amongst us don't
With
turn it
a
off.
big yellow marker.
A big thing that says, "Don't turn this button off." You. I nearly said a bad word, but you keep telling me it's a family show, Gary.
Right now, are we ready to do the thing with Glenn or not?
Yeah,
Or-
I think we should.
I think let's do
what
that,
we
and
do
then we
is
can
we
go.
talk to Glenn. This was before they left, and so we'll have a chat about that, and then we'll come back and have a look at the implications of
Yeah.
what some of the stuff he's mean
Because
and what the team has been
because
doing.
the interview makes sense to what we're going to talk about afterwards.
Gary, I bow to you. Are technical director and executive producer.
Yes.
So you tell me what is what, and then so have your Chinas in the background already to
Okay,
roll.
so I'm going to ask production. Can you please play the interview with Glenn Hall?
So now the question is, did production actually listen to what we were saying? Because that's always what... Thanks a lot for inviting us into your home. How are you feeling at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment it's all pretty good. The biggest worry right now is that I can't find my yellow fever, certificate to come back in. But that's secondary, really. Getting on the race and getting the result, that's what it's all about.
Yellow fever certificate's not the worst of documents that you've lost. You lost a passport a while ago.
Well, in fact, it went with that, to be honest. And today, of course, we were looking for it, but my staff was so efficient that they actually ordered one at the end of January. So all we got to do is find it. We know it was delivered, so that's not too serious.
Now that Audrey's back, she will find it.
Yeah, for sure. No.
On a serious note, you've gone away to Mauritius and spent some relaxing and recharging time. You've come back. The cars are in Peru. You've come back. It's a bit of a wait before you go, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, very interesting, Colin. Yeah, for this year, we've seemed more organised than ever before, but there's something worrying me. But I think that is just the natural, sort of tension before the race. The holiday went, which was exquisite with all of my family there. It went in a blink. I couldn't believe how fast it went. So I am feeling pretty rejuvenated from the holiday. Yes, we're ready to go. There are some challenges ahead of us, and the sea freight container got bumped off the ship, so that should have docked today, the 28th, but it's only going to dock on the 4th, so we won't have the testing parts in it from before the race. But more importantly, all the new racks for all of our new T5 trucks are in the sea freight, so it docks 2 days before we go. That means 1 day to clear customs, 1 day for the lads to do everything. So that's a little bit of unexpected that we didn't want.
Have you got somebody special doing the hamburger run to bring 34 sets of hamburgers in while the guys do the build up?
Yeah, we got a good team, and good logistics team as well. Rob Howie this year is going to lead up that logistics side. He's no longer able to co-drive after the crash in Qatar, so a bit sad for Robbie. But he's really embraced the logistics side of it, and it's a good opportunity going forward. So I'm sure Rob and the lads will get that part of it sorted very quickly.
We had a very interesting chat with Rob a couple of days ago, and the thing that came out of it is the transition from being world-renowned co-driver to now something else, not a co-driver. And I think there's a level of excitement and trepidation in a new role for him. But you need a strong right-hand man.
Yeah, absolutely. And the co-driver role, some of it, understanding the race, understanding of what needed, and logistics are very similar. So I'm sure Rob will do a good job and get into it very quickly. And it's good is there's a air of trepidation. People who tend to think it's easy, sort of fall down easily. So those that are concerned about it in general, in my experience, actually make a good job.
I saw a book when we walked in there, and it was quite ironic that you, Glenn Hall, head of the shed, head of Hall Speed, have a book, Adrian Newey's How to Design a Racing Car. What did you get out of that book?
Well, I read it, and it's actually brilliant book. Adrian Newey really been very open and coming from humble beginnings, and explaining his life and growing up as a child and how he designed his very first car. Went to a race in Daytona at 24, not realizing the magnitude of it, just getting stuck in, and he went to the toilet halfway through the night, saw a number on the board at P1, didn't even recognise it was his own car that he was running, was leading the race. So it was a really good book, lots of detail in it, and you're never too old to learn. I learned quite a few things, and it's just nice to see and experience other people's, lives.
In my mind, all the greats are learning all the time. And, and it's not just in one area, it's to grab little nuggets and put them together. And is there things that you can pull out of a book like that you can build into your racing cars?
It's really interesting, actually. You don't pick out a specific thing, like the design of an oil tank or something that Adrian actually said. And we thought we had a problem with the oil tank earlier on this year. And Stuart Thompson actually, I just mentioned to him, he said, there's a story in Adrian Newey's book about that. So I read that bit of it, and then over Christmas read the whole book. But what it does is it just gives you a different way of approaching some things. And our motto at work is, if you haven't learnt something new each day, then you've kind of failed. And that's what makes the job exciting still. We're learning all the time. No two things are exactly the same.
The old Japanese philosophy of Kaizen.
Yeah, continual improvement. And it's more of on my side, more of a thirst for knowledge. I'm excited to see guys like Adrian Newey or Rory Byrne or, these guys really explaining stuff. And there's an old American racer called Carroll Smith. Yeah, he wrote some incredible books in the 70s and 80s, and all those basics still apply. If you built a car according to Carroll Smith's book, How to, Race to Win, or can't remember what it's called.
There was Race to Win, Engineer to Win, and the only one that wasn't to win was Nuts and Bolts.
Yeah, that's true. But Prepare to Win is the first one, and those have got some really great basic things, and a lot of it comes from the aircraft industry. So it's just, as I always say when we're showing people around the factory, the frame for the car that comes from fabrication and the design office is a World War II aeroplane. That's what it is. So not many things have changed like that.
So it's built of wood?
Not quite. There was some steel tube in those days, yeah.
Dakar, it's Peru. It's a much shorter event, or more, let me not say shorter, it's more compact. It's in one country, and there's a lot of crisscrossing of areas. Couple of things that spring to my mind is navigation and specific setup of car. Talk to me about what is it that you do, and I know you've done a lot of testing, particularly on dampers and on tires. What are the things that you look for the specifics for sand racing?
So when racing in the dunes, the first thing is to establish the right ride height, so we're not dragging the belly on the sand, or if the dunes are particularly, got sharp crests, then you have to have a little bit, higher ride height than you would normally have. The climbing the dunes at the right tire pressure without axle tramp, that's a very big number.
Quick one, do you get axle tramp from too high or too low pressure?
Always too high. Yeah, always too high. That causes low frequency vibrations in the damper, and that's difficult for the chassis to control. So we work, quite a lot on that. But really, again, the dunes, they're going to be rough, and there's a lot of heavy impacts on the car. It's totally different to a rough gravel rally. So you actually need a harder setup for those dunes in Peru than you would in some of the rougher stages, for instance, in Argentina.
When you say harder setup, that's springs and dampers at a much harder rate than rough gravel roads?
No, the dampers. Yeah, the springs generally you set for the balance of the car, and then the dampers determine the ride of the car and the amount of suspension travel you're going to get. But more than anything else is that the drivers must feel confident in the car, and that's what we work on 80% of the time during the year.
Now, you've got three drivers of different experiences, different abilities. Janelle will finish that rally. End of discussion. I mean, the guy's done 15, once out of the top 10. He is phenomenal, a machine of absolute note. Bernard is super fast, and NASA is just on a different league in my mind. How different are their feel of the car and the demands they want, the message they want back from the car? How different are they?
In the end, very similar. And I think when we were in Morocco, we did a lot of damper work just before the race. We couldn't find something that was really working. We thought we were really in the zone. Then as the testing went further and the drivers got more confident with the car, those things changed. And then one day, Janelle had a problem in the dunes. The exhaust had broken, and we were worried about fire losing a car. I didn't think it was that serious, but because Janelle had already lost 45 minutes, they had a small navigation error. They got stuck in actually, can you believe it, in a mud hole in Morocco, in the desert. Yeah. And we made the decision for safety to stop it, but also that we'd found something in testing, an area that we just hadn't been to before, and we wanted to revisit it. So we got the car back, we repaired the piece of the exhaust, and actually a chunk of steel had actually blown out of the exhaust. It was blowing flame onto the heat-proof material. So Janelle could smell the burning, but in the end it probably would have been okay. And had he been third, we would have let him run. But he was, eighth at the time and a long way off, or sixth. And we made a change to the dampers that afternoon, made 3 changes. And Janelle was really happy. It was quite a revelation. He was red hot from doing the running for 4 days. NASA came in and I said, should we put the dampers on your car or do you want to drive Janelle's car? And he said, will Janelle mind? And I said, no, he's part of the team. He got in Janelle's car, he came back, and he said...
He just went for a quick test drive.
Yeah, about 40 Ks.
Well, for NASA, that's quick.
It wasn't. For us, it was a long time. And he came back excited. He said he just wants it. And it was something that we'd tested, which was quite different. And we got there during the afternoon and, a few tests during the time leading up to the race. And then... he drove it, and I said to Bernard, look, both drivers like it. I think we should put it on for your car for tomorrow. And he said yes, and we worked, the lads worked till 2 o'clock in the morning to rebuild all the dampers, change the settings, and all 3 drivers the next day were over the moon with identical clicks, identical shimmers in the dampers, and they said that was the biggest step forward we'd made all year.
So from a team boss, a team principal point of view, that's got to be a really comforting thing, that you know that if one driver reports, the trust that you've got with the drivers and the drivers have with you, when they report something back, you can respond to it and generally filter it through the cars and get a similar response.
Yeah, I think so. Normally, Janelle's very good at having the feel of the car. Nasser, he wants to go out and experience it for 100 Ks sometimes before he'll come back, and he'll said, yeah, it's okay, but we just needed a bit softer here, a bit harder there. And then it's another quite long, winded test. So the fact that Nasser liked it exactly how Janelle liked it was good. And I knew he would like it. To have such a positive feedback. The drivers were all hot from being racing each day. They'd been doing 300 Ks, so the feeling was right. All three drivers are going to start exactly on the same setup when we go to Peru. And guess what? We've got another test set ready for before the start of the race.
Glenn, if you didn't have a test set of something, it wouldn't be proper racing. The other big development that they say is that you've spent a lot of time with BF Goodrich on the tires, Michelin on the tires, working hard to make sure that you don't end up with the problems of them falling off the rim as they were last year. Why did you have those problems last year?
Well, if you remember, cast yourself back 12 months, we'd built a completely new car. We'd brought it forward a year, and Michelin wanted to do a new tyre, which we'd kind of started the process, because remembering that Peugeot were in the buggy, BMW Mini were just starting the buggy program, so we were just on our own really in the four-wheel drive car. So we put a lot of pressure on BF Goodrich to do a new tyre. And BF Goodrich made the decision they wanted Mini, who still had four-wheel drive cars, and Toyota to do the testing in Europe, which meant that we couldn't do it here in South Africa easily. We could have done it during the running up of the new car, but they wanted to have feedback from Mini as well, so that couldn't happen here. So the job was done. NASA did some of the testing, Mikko Hirvonen did some of the testing. We got a set of the test tyres in November last year.
And that's just 2 months before the race.
Yeah, absolutely, or just before that. We chose then, out of the four choices we had, a specific tyre which we felt was a good all-round tyre for last year. And in the end, that wasn't the way that the tyre was eventually finished. So when we got to Lima, this new tyre was there. It was made in a new plant in Atlanta, not in Clermont-Ferrand. And literally after the first day of running, we realised that something was wrong. The construction made the ride hard. The grip was phenomenal, no question about it. But the sidewall wasn't flexing. And then we had to run extremely low pressures, which made us vulnerable for debeading on the tyre. So this year, we knew exactly what we needed. Michelin went back, took all the feedback, and they came with 3 very good base designs to start with, the evaluation. And we worked with them on a lot of tests in Gurupan, just north of Uppington. And then we tested an evolution of that tyre in Morocco, and all 3 drivers loved it. So,
and you didn't have any beads falling off? And
no, it was much better.
Puncture resistance still good?
We weren't allowed to race on the tyre. However, we did do a race here on the tyre, and it looks pretty similar. Of course, when you have a slightly softer construction, which you need for the dunes, you're always going to be a little bit more vulnerable. But if you do the maths and the tyre is 0.4 seconds a K quicker, you can afford to have a few punctures. If you're in the dunes, then the dust is not an issue. So you can overtake again. So I think we'll be all right.
And when, the whole tyre pressure thing, you're running four-wheel drives, you're not allowed to have the automatic tyre inflation, deflation. The buggies, the mini buggies will have, Robbie Gordon will have, if he still hasn't destroyed that thing against a rock. What sort of tyre pressures do you choose when you look at it and you say, right, well, you've got to choose an intermediate? What's that pressure?
You see, well, I won't give you the pressure.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm not going to give you the pressure. But
Roundabout, between.
in the end, between 0.5 bars and 3 bars. Yeah. But it's up to the drivers what pressure they want to run at the end of the day. Of course, we know what it is because we log it and record it during the day. We can trace on the how the temperature builds and how the pressure builds, and that's very, important to the whole performance during the stage, because we cannot stop and reduce the tyre pressures unless it's like stage 5 from last year, where Bernard made the decision with Michel Perrin and he flew. They decided to go down to 0.7 bars or whatever it was, drive really carefully.
We did get a number. We got a number.
You got a number, last year.
He went from 1.4 to 2.7.
No, 4.5 to 1.7. So he went. He lowered the tyre pressures, went over the tricky bit. They stopped. They reinflated them. That's 1.5 minutes to reinflate, and then they finished third on the stage. The 2 Peugeots. So that was a perfect way to do it. Nasser and Janil attacked the stage. Both of them had tyres come off the rim. Nasser eventually lost 45 minutes. Janil lost 40 minutes, and the rally was defined there. That won't happen this year.
But it's not just about, when a tyre comes off. It's not just the time you lose from there. There's, within the driver's mind, when there are problems, they seem to breed problems.
So when there's this problem, the driver can't push because he knows that if he jumps over a dune, has to change direction. The sideways force in the dunes is massive because you build up, especially on the edge of the wake or a boom or whatever you want to call it. But so it pulls a tyre off the rim easily. If you are, you can pull 3 lateral Gs in the dunes easily on the tyres in the sand. So it pulls the.
That's just. Sorry to interrupt. 3 lateral Gs in the dunes in a crossroad car is more than most GT3 race cars pull around a corner.
Yeah, but remember, it's very short. It's just when you hit the side of the build up of the sand, but on gravel we can pull a G quite easily. Yeah, it's also when it builds up and the grip builds up. So there's a lot of force there. But going back to your question before we did, so if the drivers are concerned about the tyres debeading and all these things, they can't focus on the road properly. So our job is to make sure that doesn't happen again. The drivers can focus on the driving. They can choose a tyre pressure from experience, and they can get on with it. And then we can maximise the performance of the car.
That was one of the more interesting decisions we've had. I really enjoyed it and managed to get some little bits of info from Glyn. And of course, this was on the 28th, so there's been time between then and now for them they've gone away. They're now in Peru and they've done their testing.
And a lot of exciting things happen in testing.
They did. So we've got our sources say, thanks Mom, that guys, there might be a bolt of lightning that comes out of the sky and kills all communication. Accept it, that we've got what we've got, and live with it. So we
Now, for those who are not quite aware, Terence Marsh is sitting in Dakar at the moment with the Toyota boys, but he's with Nissan.
say it.
Shamir
Veriawa's
car. So, Terence, thank you for
It's
joining.
a redline Nissan Navara, dependent rear axle, carbon fiber for days. It's magic, and good luck. They spent bucket loads of time in scrutineering yesterday, like 6 or 7 hours. What happens is so yesterday was scrutineering, and for the last chance saloon for scrutineering, and then today was basically a media day, off day, and just take the last breaths and get going. Tomorrow is the 86 kilometer prologue, and it's going to be very interesting. We'll talk about some strategy on that tomorrow. We're going to be back tomorrow at 14 o'clock. I mean, at
1600.
1600 SAST, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And just for you guys out there, there's a lot more of that interview to come from Glenn. It's actually part 2, which we will be screening live tomorrow. So, guys, I'm losing everything.
Okay, so he's lost his mind?
My mind,
long time ago.
my microphone, everything else.
And we're going to spend half an hour picking up Gary's toys here. But that's okay, Gary. It's all right. I know that your reaction reflects your passion. So this is completely passion. Now take a deep breath, get your chakras aligned, and
talk about passion. Before we go, all of you out there, we love your passion for watching us. Now, we're going to go live with a lot of stuff in the next 10 days, 15, 17 days. 10, whatever, until the end of Dakar. You have a comment section, guys. Please put comments in there of what you want us to look at, what you want us to follow. We've got exciting stuff, exciting personalities coming with us onto our show,
and we've got some pretty boring ones.
Yeah,
we have to suck that's like pulling him. But anyway, the info coming hot off the press.
Yes,
there's Glenn's comment. I think sums it up. I want this race to start now.
Yes.
Now, for the four odd years, the last 4 years, I haven't seen him this fired up and pumped up. I want the race to start. All the stuff has been done. What they did yesterday, yesterday they did the final testing. They're 7 hours behind us, so we're coming up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is 17 o'clock. So take 7 hours off that. It's 10 o'clock in the morning there. By now they've had breakfast, they've done their thing, and they're chilling, and there's a whole lot of media stuff that's going on. So we're going to carry on until the bolt of lightning comes, and whatever it is, that's where it goes. So they went testing, and just to do the verification of the damper setup. You heard Glenn talk about the shim pack, and what they've done there is they've got the ride height and the attitude, the rake of the vehicle sorted, so it isn't dragging belly and it can go over the crest nicely. They did the final tests in the sand of Peru. Its desert sand is slightly different, Gary. Think of the way the grains and the shape of the grains and the roughness of them. And the sand there is pretty fine, and it's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be interesting. But they've got the tires sorted, the pressures sorted, and now got the final packs of the dampers. So they had a number of different variations, and the final Evo that they spec'd on, and all the cars have got it. So they were building dampers.
So testing and that, everybody happy, ready to make a rock tomorrow,
and proper testing, proper happy. So they'd gone through the dampers, the springs, and also the other thing that is actually probably one of the most overlooked, but is absolutely vital, is to get a final read on the fuel consumption.
All right,
because it would be a disaster if you were running a team of, and there's probably 12. You got to work what your consumption is, what the worst case scenario is likely to be, then put some fuel in the car, and then decide how confident you are in your calculations. There are 3 engineers, proper with computer programs for days. There's a lot of information that comes out of the car, particularly when it gets bogged down in the sand and you've got high revs, low forward speed, and there's lots of action on the throttle. So you're asking a lot of torque out of the engine. The more torque you ask for it, the more fuel it uses to burn. So we carry on until it blows, Gary. So I'm getting little signals, and Gary's worried about something, but we just need to get through the fuel consumption. These things have got a 500-litre tank. Tomorrow's 86 Ks, but the day after is 380 odd, I think, just from recollection. So now 86 Ks is, let's say you make it 100, you're going to put in about 35 to 40 litres of fuel plus a bit of, put 50, 100, because each kilogram that you put into the car, believe it or not, even though it weighs 1,800 odd kilograms, you need weight costs time. So you want the thing as light as possible. Ideally, you want it to get to the end and not run out of fuel, because when they run out of fuel, you end up with the possibility of some damage on the engine. So they would have done all their fuel checks, and it would have been sorted. So exciting times. We're going to be back tomorrow to carry on the discussion of what else happened in and what they looked for in the dampers, and with some other news that'll come out of the media today. How the minis are feeling. I'm led to believe, are very, very confident with Carlos Sainz having helped them on their damper package. So that's about it. Just if you've got a chance, I want you to go for inspiration. Go and have a look all over the place. Just look for Alex Zanardi getting in and out of his car at the Raw of 24. It is, to me, he had his legs chopped off in a car crash.
Can I be naughty?
Yeah, please do.
Can I try and hook that and try and play it tomorrow, see what happens?
It is unbelievable the way he gets in and out of the car. Reminds me of, do you remember Billy Munger? Anyway, so we're busy. The lightning bolt is coming. Joburg thunderstorm. Thanks a lot for watching us. We'll join us again. Gary?
Yes.
What time?
Like,
Where are we going to be, Gary?
yeah.
Are you sure? Because just down the road from all the gyms in